Well, good afternoon to our media partners and to all the officers, the sheriffs, the chiefs, the directors, all the agencies that are represented today. Thank you for coming out to this press event today. I want to just take a real quick moment to thank the Jonesborough Department of Safety for helping us set this up and have us in this beautiful visitor center and for just giving us the opportunity to have a nice place to conduct this press event. My name is Steve Dillard, and I am the East Tennessee Law Enforcement Liaison for the Governor's Highway Safety Office. Today, the Governor's Highway Safety Office and our law enforcement partners here in District 5 region, we're coming together to start talking a little bit about some of the plans we have for the spring and summer weather. The Fall Branch region has stayed about even with the fatalities since the beginning of 2015. When we compared today's date in 2014, we are one down in this region. Now, sadly, we've lost 20 lives on our roadways, and we all feel that one life is one too many. And so by saying that, there's some things that we want to bring to the attention of our drivers, some things that we're seeing in some of our investigations on some of these crashes as well as the fatalities. Many of our deaths are still occurring because of people not wearing their seatbelts. People are still texting and driving on the highways, on the side roads, on the main thoroughfares. We're still dealing with impaired driving, whether it be alcohol use or whether it be narcotics. And we also are dealing with speeding. And speeding is a factor that we all could change. We just need to slow down. But we've also noticed that in some of the investigations that human error has affected a lot of crashes as well as some of the fatalities. So as we look toward our enforcement goals with our partnering agencies, what we're hoping to do is to try to change behavior with our drivers. And the very first thing we want to try to do is encourage our drivers to wear their seatbelts. We know seatbelts save lives, and just too many people are not wearing them. And Tennessee is blessed that we have an 87.71% usage rate for people wearing seatbelts. But sadly, it's that 12% that we're investigating fatalities with or serious injury crashes. The very difficult part for law enforcement is having to go onto a scene where you see that the driver or a passenger, someone in a vehicle, has been ejected out of a car, whether it was through the windshield, whether it was through a rollover crash. And so many times this could have been prevented if they had just took that 1 second to click that seatbelt. So we are wanting to bring attention that we are going to be looking for those that are not wearing seatbelts. This is a very easy behavior, but it's a behavior that you have to make that choice on. It is the law, and it has been the law. And as we hope, we can start keeping these fatalities from getting way out of hand as we begin to get into the warmer weather within our area. Currently in the state of Tennessee, we've had 171 lives lost. We are 13 down for the entire state compared to the same period of 2014. So we know we got a lot of work to do. But these agencies that are with me today, that are standing behind me, have taken the commitment to increase their area of enforcement with seatbelt usage, but also to take the attitude we want to educate. We want to educate our drivers. As I stated earlier, law enforcement will be looking for those that are not wearing seatbelts. If you are pulled over for that offense, the officer will take the appropriate measure that he or she seems fit for that violation. And as we prepare for this seatbelt enforcement, we are using the same campaign we did last year, what we call the SAFE campaign. It is an acronym for seatbelts are for everyone. We saw a lot of success last year because of this SAFE campaign. And We feel that by using a lot of the goals that we set from last year to this year, we're going to continue to see the same success. We have 23 agencies that have taken on the initiative to increase their seatbelt safety and enforcement within their cities and counties. And again, this has nothing to do about writing tickets. This is trying to save people from getting hurt in these car crashes. But it's also trying to keep from having lives lost because of that. Out of those 23 agencies, I want to very quickly go over who's going to be participating with us. We have Baileyton PD, Bainbury PD, Bean Station PD, Bristol PD, Churchill PD, Cocke County Sheriff's Office, Elizabethton Police Department, ETSU, Greene County Sheriff's Office, Greenville PD, Hawkins County SO, Jefferson City PD, Johnson City PD, Jonesborough Department of Public Safety, Kingsport PD, Mount Carmel PD, New Market PD, Parrottsville PD, Rogersville PD, Rutledge PD, Tusculum PD, White Pine PD, and Unicoi County Sheriff's Office. We have a great partnership with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. I know that they'll continue their goals and objectives that they have set for their district, and we look forward to the partnership that we continue with them. I also want to bring to your attention that as we begin to get into spring weather, NHTSA has several campaigns that we will be working with in our region. The entire month of April is set for the National Distracted Driving Month. Again, we hope to try to address some of the texting and driving that's happening on the roadways. When you take your eyes off that roadway for just a second to look at a message and see who's texting in, then you've took your eyes off the road and you don't know what danger is ahead of you until it's already there and you're trying then to react to what has happened. Texting and driving is causing many crashes, and they've been instrumental in several fatalities throughout the state of Tennessee. So we are going to be looking for texting and driving violations, and we ask our drivers, please take the moment to pull over, go to a parking lot, pull off to the side road, whatever you need to do. If you've got to get that text that important, otherwise, wait until you get stopped, then take the time to address whatever's coming in. The month of May, we're going to have Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Warm weather is going to get our motorcyclists out, guys, and we know that. And during this time, there'll be a lot of emphasis put on motorcycle safety and urging our other drivers to share the road with our motorcyclists. We have several areas throughout East Tennessee. They're beautiful areas to ride on the bikes, but we also know that people use those areas to drive in a reckless manner and a lot of times disregards the safety of other people. So we hope that our motorcyclists, that they have an enjoyment being on the bike, but we also encourage them not to drink and drive on that bike. And plus speeding and driving reckless is just a deadly mixture. And then finally, in the month of May, May the 11th to May the 25th, we will be conducting our Click It or Ticket campaign throughout the state of Tennessee. This actually deals with the don't drink and drive and encouraging designated drivers to take your place in operating a motor vehicle. So as you can tell, we've got a lot of activities that are getting ready to start up. Our partners are prepared and they're ready to take on this extra initiative within their agencies. But we want our public to know we care about you. We care about what's happening with you, and we want you to get to your destination. Nothing's more tragic than to have to go to a house and explain to a family member you just got killed because of either your mistake, either a behavior with yourself, with that person, or another driver chose to drink and drive or use a behavior that caused that death. So we just ask for your help, and we need your help, guys, just to abide by the law. Today, I want to introduce to you our administrator with the Governor's Highway Safety Office. He's our LEL administrator, Richard Holt, and I'll ask him to come forward and share a few thoughts with you. Richard.
Thank you, Steve. And on behalf of our director, Kendall Poole, we appreciate all of you being here today for this press event, and also the media. You play a very important part in what we do. And in saying that, we concentrate on the 3 E's at the Governor's Highway Safety Office: education, enforcement, and engineering. And the media plays a part in that education part that we're discussing today. In addition, we provide grant funding to agencies and advocates to help with highway safety efforts. One thing that I want to say today about, we're here to talk about seatbelts and the use of them. And I'm not going to mention any number, but half of the fatalities we had last year were unbuckled drivers. Our seatbelt rate is close to 90%, or about 89% is our use rate. That means about 11% are not wearing their seatbelts. 11% accounted for half of those fatalities. Those fatalities didn't need to happen. And like I said, they're not numbers. They were people. They meant something to someone. And if you're one of those that's not wearing your seatbelt, think about this. You mean something. You mean something to someone, and you're important to someone. So my message is buckle up. It takes a half a second to do it, and it could mean the rest of your life. Buckle up every time, every trip. Steve, thank you for doing a good job, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Richard. As I stated earlier, we have a great partnership with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and I'd like to introduce to you Lieutenant Bill Miller, who will share a few comments on behalf of the THP. Lieutenant.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everybody. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the men and women that are standing behind me here today. These officers dedicate their lives to the safety of everyone in their community, everyone within this 13 community family, this 13 county community that we call a family with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. That's the Fall Branch District. When I heard the acronym SAFE, I thought, wow, that is such a really clever, straightforward message. And it stands for seatbelts are for everyone. And there is not a more truer statement than that. Not everybody has a driver's license. Not everybody gets the privilege, and I stress privilege, of driving a car. But when you ride in a motor vehicle, everyone does have the opportunity to buckle that seatbelt. As we've heard, we're at 87.7%, roughly 88% of seatbelt usage in Tennessee. There's still room for improvement. That's not 100%. There's two numbers that the Tennessee Highway Patrol are looking for: 100% compliance in seatbelt usage and 0 fatalities within Tennessee. Now we know 0 fatalities is going to be a very hard obstacle for us to reach, but we're partnering and we're reaching out and we're joining with everyone who will join with us and partner with us to make Tennessee a safer state, not only for our citizens, but also for everyone who visits this great state. 0, we wear that on our uniform. That is so you will come to us and ask us a question. What does that 0 mean on your uniform, trooper? It's the answer to a question that we'll turn around and ask you. How many friends or family members that you have are you willing to lose to a fatality car crash? Answer is 0. We do not call crashes accident anymore like we used to. We used to refer to those as accidents. An accident is when you knock something off your table during dinner, or you forgot to get your cell phone before you left the house. That's an accident. You just forgot it. A crash is something that can be and should be avoided. A crash typically occurs because someone driving was doing something other than operating their vehicle with complete 100% dedication to the safety or safe operation of that motor vehicle. Drinking and driving, texting and driving, driving distracted, eating and driving, numerous things, looking over their shoulder, getting something from the back seat, numerous things. A crash can be avoided. Now, seatbelts are for everyone. We stress to buckle your seatbelt. If you do not buckle your seatbelt, you're going to get a very subtle reminder when you see blue lights in your mirror, and it's a Tennessee State Trooper coming to greet you and advise you what you did wrong. In just this 13 county district, Fall Branch District, when Captain Street took over in 2012, the entire District of Fall Branch issued 4,466 seatbelt citations for the whole year 2012. As his tenure has increased, in 2014, the Tennessee Highway Patrol in Fall Branch District has issued 17,258 seatbelt citations. Agree with it or disagree with it, we're going to be here. We're going to enforce the law, all laws. We're going to ensure the safety of Tennessee's highways, and everyone who travels on our highways, whether you agree with us or disagree with us. We do not discriminate. We're here for you. Now, I ask you and I plead with you to please operate your vehicles with the utmost due care. Buckle your seatbelts. When we knock on your door, we lose a piece of ourselves each time that we knock on your door. And we have to tell a loved one that answers that door that their loved one that they just kissed that morning or that afternoon is not going to return because they were killed in a car crash that could have and should have been avoided. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. As I stated earlier, we have a great partnership with the Jonesborough Department of Public Safety, and I'd like to introduce Director Craig Ford to share a few comments. Director.
All the men and women of the Jonesborough Department of Public Safety, that we want to welcome you to Jonesborough, and glad you could kick off this event here, Steve. You've heard a lot so far early this afternoon about enforcement, education, and even some statistics. We know the enforcement effort is there. We know these men and women standing behind me are dedicated to that for the safety of our highways. I want to share just a couple of personal stories quickly this morning about how education works. Around 1983, a young man starting out in emergency services as a medic for the Greenville-Greene County EMS. It's been a long time ago, hasn't it, Sarge? One morning, the director comes in with a letter from our insurance agency, which basically said, due to the dangerous nature of the driving conditions for the ambulance service as well as the high speeds, they may or may not cover injuries to our medics injured in auto accidents if we weren't belted in those ambulances. Now, this was long before we had seatbelt laws in the state of Tennessee. But our director educated us that morning to the importance of some of the 19, early 20-year-olds, that you're not indestructible, the importance of wearing that seatbelt. And so from that point on, we didn't pull that ambulance unit out of the bay to wash it without being buckled in first. So that was an education that I carried with me the rest of my life. The vehicle did not move before that seatbelt was clicked. And we know from the statistics that the seatbelts save lives. Well, fast forward a year or two later from 1983, a couple of years ago, that became all too evident to me when for the first time I watched my 16-year-old drive off out of that driveway by himself. The point to this is, you want to do what you can, especially as a father, to take care of your family. And it's so important for us to set the example and educate our children. My generation and the generation before me lost that education part of that. So we need to get that now with these young people that are starting to drive. We can make a difference just in our education, but it takes our media partners to help us get that education out. And that's why we're so glad you're here today. I would present one more thing to you outside of the enforcement and the education, and that's take the personal responsibility yourself to teach your family members. There's someone that loves you. There's someone that's counting on you to return when you pull out of that driveway. Seatbelts save lives. Officers get no enjoyment out of writing those citations, but we do get the enjoyment in knowing that what we're doing each day is making a difference in saving lives.
Thank you, Director. I have a great relationship with the Cocke County Sheriff's Office. One of my coordinators, Captain Woods, is a member of the Cocke County Sheriff's Office. And Sheriff Fontes has always been very supportive in a lot of the endeavors that we come up with and goals and activities that we ask for assistance on. And I appreciate Sheriff Armando Fontes being with us today, and I will turn over to him for a few comments. Sheriff. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I just want to take a moment just on behalf of the Governor's Highway Safety Office, as well as all of the partnering law enforcement agencies that are standing with me, to thank you for being here for our SAFE campaign kickoff. I want to give you a little bit of a different perspective, which some of the gentlemen here have elaborated on, but I would like you to just take for a moment to understand and see that gathered here today are law enforcement officers that are here as professional agencies, and most of these men and women standing here are family members of some sort of some family somewhere. They're very family oriented. Some have children and some are married, and many of them are dedicated to not only law enforcement but to their families. Being a husband and a father of four, many times I myself will be driving down a roadway and we will come to a certain point of a section of roadway. Well, I will personally recall a tragic accident that may have occurred right there, just like all of these men and women themselves will do. And as we go through that roadway, we remember the horrific events that took place that affected a family forever. The average motorist is never exposed to that. They don't really ever see that. But being in law enforcement for many years, like these men and women have, we see these and we remember these events very vividly. One of the memories that I have is of a young man driving a motorcycle who was impaired. He veered off the roadway, hit a guardrail, was thrown into a wooded area, and was impaled by a piece of wood. I happened to be in the area and arrived on scene within less than a minute. As I made my way down to the area, got there next to him, you can smell the alcohol. He was still alive. He was struggling and suffering. And the only thing that I could do at that point in time was render minor medical aid until the EMS got on scene, and obviously say a prayer for him and for his family. And although it was just the emergency responses that got there quickly did all that they could do, he died right there next to me. It's something you never forget. And so we relive and we see these experiences, and that's what drives us and motivates us to go out and to enforce these laws that we have. If the average citizen could experience the memories that we have of death, sorrow, and destruction as a result of drinking and driving, not wearing your seatbelt, driving impaired, or speeding, or texting and driving, then the average citizen would have an entirely different view about driving and the responsibility that comes with it. To read about something or hear about something is nothing compared to actually experiencing it firsthand. As law enforcement officers, we're dedicated to education, and that's why we get out and do the things that we do in the communities. We're dedicated to writing citations and tickets for those who violate common sense laws that are for the safety of the general public. As it was spoken already, we don't get enjoyment out of writing these citations, but we use this as a tool to motivate people to do things that will make it safe for them, and not only for them but for others. Our job is to save lives and to prevent death and destruction in our communities. All across the state, families are suffering and families are struggling as a result of the death of a loved one. And a lot of these deaths could have been prevented by people following the law, using common sense, and taking that extra time to buckle their seatbelt. Not drinking and driving, not texting and driving. All these things could be prevented if people would just be more responsible, as has been said. We want to encourage all of you to make a difference on our Tennessee roadways. Be responsible, be courteous, be patient, and wear your seatbelt. And be safe by buckling up. And we thank you once again for being here for this press event.
Thank you, Sheriff. And finally, our last speaker for this press event comes from the Greene County Sheriff's Office. And once again, we have such a good partnership with the Greene County SO. Sheriff Hankins has done a good job, and his staff in looking at ways to make Greene County such a better and safer place for all of their residents and those that come through. I'd like to introduce to you Sergeant Michelle Holt, who will share some final thoughts for us.
This is stupid. I don't like it. It's a hassle. That's just some of the things that I hear from drivers that are not seatbelted. I don't know what causes them to think that the extra second is not worth it. I remember years ago, my grandmother never wore her seatbelt, and we would fuss at her from the back seat constantly. It was always a hassle. But she always said that she couldn't remember to do it. I don't remember to do it, it's just a hassle. One day, an officer told her, the next 10 times that you get in a car, I want you to consciously put that seatbelt on. Very first thing. Consciously do that 10 times. After that, it became second nature for her. It became a habit for her. She was a little bit happier because we wasn't yelling at her, and she was safer. By wearing her seatbelt, she decreased her chances of being seriously hurt in a crash. That's why the Greene County Sheriff's Department and all these agencies are involved in this SAFE campaign, to make our drivers safe, because seatbelts are for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Our message is clear. We want our drivers to be more careful out here on the road and make good choices. The summer or the spring and summer weather is coming on, and everybody's going to be enjoying the beauty of our nature, our mountains. But we don't want this spring and summer to be a time of tragedy for a family who may have lost someone because the fact being an impaired driver struck them, they chose not to wear a seatbelt, or another behavior ended up hurting them. I want to thank all the officers, every one of you back here in the back. Thank you for coming out today. It is your professionalism and all you do in your communities that makes everyone safe throughout this East Tennessee region. I want to thank you, the media, for taking time to come and do this press event. Your message to our public is so vitally important, and we thank you for taking the time to help us get that message out. I appreciate my other coordinator, Deputy Jerry Hughes. Jerry's been with us a little over 16 years and has been a committed partner to the Governor's Highway Safety Office. As the press event concludes, our speakers will be available for any of you all that want to talk to them or have any questions. Our Public Information Officer is present as well, Ms. Brown, and we thank you all for being here. This press event is concluded.